One of my favorite books is Othello by Shakespeare, and one of the reasons I like this book is that, at least in my interpretation, it might be wrong, it might have people disagree with it. And again, I haven't read this in years and haven't seen it in the movies in years. It's one of those books I probably read, might have read the first time either right before ending high school, or right after high school. And I spent a few years kind of like rereading it every once in a while, and then I'm stopped for several years. But the book is really interesting. And the title of Othello, in my view, is really interesting because it seemed to me that the main character is not Othello, it's actually Iago. The story revolves around Iago more than anyone else. We have the inner thoughts of Iago. Othello is one of the main characters, obviously, but we're not following him around. We don't have the monologues of Othello like we have with Iago, what his motivations are, and so on. Um, so in my view, it should have been called Iago, but it's really interesting that they put Othello, and it could be, I believe, that Shakespeare did this on purpose. So if you look at the motivations of Iago, when Cassius is becoming the second in command, I believe Iago's was Brabantio would be the other guy that's in love with Desdemona trying to get him, and Iago pretty much makes the fool his purse and leads him astray. So Iago's looking in the window, and Cassius getting second in command. He goes on rambling how he's not getting what he's worth, right? So this guy only knows Cassio only knows book his theory. He has never had any real world experience, and yet he is getting the second in command. Iago is not getting what he deserves, and he has a Bible quote. At least I believe it was its Bible quote, something the likes of "I am not what I seem," or "not I'm not what I am." I believe it was. So I do believe it might have a double meaning there too, in the context of the conversation he's having right there with Brabantio. It seems to be what he's saying is that I'm not given the honors that I deserve. I'm not in the position in life that I deserve. Like I'm a leader, I'm a winner, or what have you. But I'm being put in a lower position, or a lower character. Uh, inside the story or inside society, right? He deserves to be second in command, or even be where Othello is. It seems like he believes it is, and he's probably pretty capable based on what the stories were telling. But he is not getting awarded what he deserves. So the "I am not what I am" phrase, I believe, is referring to this, and is part of the story too. So it seems to me it was kind of like a it's kind of like a message of why Yago did it. He was not getting the credit that he deserved, and in the book is kind of like a secretive message portraying this. It's called Othello, but it should have been called Yago, and Yago is not who he is. He's not getting the credit that he deserves, which he points out in the beginning of the story, and seems to be all the motivations for him to cause the tragedy of the story. And as for Desdemona and Othello, it seems to me that it was kind of interesting how they fell in love. So Othello explicitly says something to the likes of how he has had a life of war, he's sick of it, he just wants a life of peace. And he sees Desdemona, and Desdemona is portrayed as being kind and soft spoken, nice girl, and he believes she will be a respite for all the years of war, where he can finally find peace, and he's only known war. So that's kind of why he's really attracted to the girl, right? She's docile and nice, bring the peace he wants, and he loves her. Desdemona, after Othello gets accused of using witchcraft to make her fall in love with her with certain potions, she goes on telling the story as to what made her fall in love with Othello, which is the exact opposite. So Othello would walk around the house and talk with her father about the stories about his adventures in warfare, etc. So The girl has been locked in her home pretty much her whole life, and she says it was these adventures that made her fall in love with Othello. So right there, they're they love each other, but Shakespeare explicitly states that it's for different reasons. So when they get married, Othello wants to have that peace he wants. But that's not what Desdemona wanted. He does not know that that's not what Desdemona wants. So I believe that Desdemona kind of creates a little bit of jealousy with Cassius on purpose because she's bored. Now, a lot of women, for example, like Mexican soap operas, they kind of like a little bit of drama. And either yourself or, for instance, this was Friends, you had to have women that literally like to create a little bit of jealousy between them and their partner. You can even read like their confessions online on what they're doing. They're doing this stuff on purpose a lot of time because they kind of like that a little bit of confrontation. Again, this is not all women. There's probably different stages of life. This is interesting. Probably if you're a little older, you're not going to care about this anymore. If you're younger, you probably will. But this is the case in some women, right? They like to create a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of conflict, um, and keeps it interesting. Even there's a case of a woman in India who divorced her husband because he wouldn't fight with her. Actually, we want to Google that. Let's Google that right now. This probably is going to get the search result. Incident that when the record divorces the husband, accused of suffocating her was being too perfect. She record, blah blah blah. Express allegation perfect, starving Clacy. So pretty much, her argument was that he would never argue with her. And he would just say yes and love her too much, etc. So it seems like this is one of the cases where he just was too sick of it and literally divorces the guy for not fighting her or not like being having some confrontation. Because again, some women seem to like that. Here it is, for example. Husband never argue with her, and that is perfect love. What's driving her crazy, right? So this is a real thing, right? So some women like a little bit of drama. So I believe that someone was part of that, and she kind of made him a little bit angry. That led the situation astray until Othello kills her and just took everything too far. Part to do with the words of Iago. So I don't know. I just believe it's a really interesting story. And like I said, if my interpretation is correct, and the story is about Iago, but Shakespeare puts in purpose Othello, kind of illustrating the theme of the story, like the motivation between the character Iago. That's really interesting. Again, I'm not sure if anyone agrees with me on this, but at least that's the interpretation I gave it years ago. It might be interesting to read again and see what I think about it. But anyways,